everybody. Welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jasma, and with me, I have the greatest legal mind in the Pacific Northwest. It is Professor Aubrey. How you doing?
I am doing excellent, Tim. How are you?
I am doing well. I know one of us is sore today.
One of us.
Well, yeah, I was a little sore yesterday. I'm a little better today, but we both had a fun night at the silent disco.
Yes, we did. The silent disco was awesome. So I don't know if people know about the silent disco, but it's a place where you go, usually a public place, where you can rent headphones from some DJs and they play you music while everybody dances with their headphones on. And it's super fun. And there's one here in Portland that's down on the river, um, right across from downtown Portland. So you've got a beautiful backdrop of the city skyline while you're boogieing down to some great house and bass and different kinds of music.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting experience. As far as the music goes, even if you're not someone that's necessarily into electronic music, that type of music is best for particular moods, atmospheres, crowds, and for what the silent disco has to offer, the music fits the occasion perfectly, and you actually get into it. And with the headphones that they use, it kind of does its best to kind of distract you from the fact that you're outside dancing and in reality you just have headphones on. It feels like an immersive experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. And I really enjoy it. And being outside, you can kind of take up as much space as you want, which is the big reason why I sometimes don't feel great about going out dancing, is just because people get so close together,
Yeah.
which used to be a lot more fun than it is now.
Yeah. But doing it outside, you get a chance to play with some extra toys.
That's right. So last night we actually had the good fortune to have my other partner also dancing with us, and he brought electric, or not electric, but like battery powered LED light poi, which are so if you've seen fire dancers swinging fire around, they're using what's called poi, and you can get versions of them that don't involve fire, like these ones that light up. And so we got to play with those, which was super fun.
Yes. We both got some pictures playing with it, and I loved it because at night with the lights on the poise, when you took the shot, it actually the things were going so fast that the poise kind of did a streak in the pictures, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But what a wonderful time to have the world kind of open up again. It is summertime and life is slowly opening back up for people that are fully immunized. And that is very, very exciting news to hear. Yay!
Yay, it is, especially since we're both now fully immunized.
Indeed. We got the wonderful news that the Laurelhurst Theater has opened back up for business already, and the Hollywood Theater is opening back up for business at the beginning of July. So, two of my favorite movie theaters in town will be back open, and we even ended up becoming Hollywood Theater members because of this, taking advantage of the student discount. Yes. But that has me worried though, because because like in my head I'm like, I will get that student discount with my name on it and then show up there for a movie and they're like, prove you're a student, and I'm like, huh? I think part of it is like I know when I worked at Apple, like if showing people to prove quote unquote their that they were a student, they just had to like log into like a school website with their email, and that was more than sufficient. So hopefully that would be the case at the Hollywood, but who knows?
I'm sure it would be.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But also summertime for me has always been the time where I feel like I listen to music a lot more.
I agree, especially when I was growing up. Growing up, summer is a different experience. It seems a lot longer because it's a longer proportion of your life. And often kids don't have a ton of stuff to do in the summer because we were off from school. And so that experience of sort of being home for summer by myself while my parents were working and trying to keep the house cool and trying to, figure out things to spend my days doing. That's what, when I think of listening to a lot of music in the summer, I remember just laying outside in the sun, listening to music for days on end.
Yeah, I mean, when kids today probably have a lot more distractions than we did in terms of the toys they can play with. For us, during the summer, unless your family was rich and could afford that Nintendo, it was either TV, music, or playing outside, or some combination of those. So, music was definitely important. I mean, whether it be having MTV on during the summer, which for a portion of my life was, when I was younger, was definitely a thing, or just having it playing an MP3, having a CD along, or just experiencing music in some way. So yeah, I mean, it's summer. It has is for me like the best time to to listen to music. So I thought, why not bring back the Nerdy Five and talk about our top five favorite songs that for us encapsulates summer. What do you think?
That sounds like a great idea, Tim.
Yes. So, what we have done, as we have done in the past, is come up with our five choices, and we're going to bounce back and forth here. Just bring up our choice and why we talked about it, and have some conversation from there. So, are you ready, Professor?
I am as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. So, ladies first. Let's hear your first choice.
Okay, I'm going to do mine in sort of a chronological order for my life. So, starting back when I was a kid. And so, when I think back to music when I was a kid in summertime, the song that it has to be is the song Suddenly by Billy Ocean from his 1984 album, Suddenly. and
Imagine that.
imagine that. So, are you familiar with that song?
I definitely am, but not from Billy Ocean, actually from Family Guy first.
Oh, so you saw the bit on Family Guy and then you listened to the song.
Yeah, I mean, because like Billy Ocean, the only real experience I've had with him was that song "Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car." Not even Caribbean Queen. It was that for some reason, and I just remember that because Friday night videos on NBC would routinely just play the hell out of that, every night.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so let me tell you why this song sticks out in my brain as the song. Um, and that's because when I was a kid, so when I was about 11 years old, I was on the swim team, and it was like a local rec center swim team. And I'd have to get up very early in the morning to get dropped off at the pool for swim practice. And then my mom would pick me up on her lunch break. So she would drop me off on her way to work and pick me up on her lunch break. And so I spent a whole lot of time at the pool. Um, Swim practice was only for an hour. So most of that time in the morning, very early mornings at the local community pool, listening to the radio. And they played the hell out of that song on the radio.
Oh man.
So, I would hear it many, many, many times throughout the day as I was laying by the pool or swimming. And it was one of those songs that just got in my brain and was an earworm. So then when I was swimming, I totally was singing that song in my head. And so when I remember that song, what I remember is going through the water, doing the breast, or not the breaststroke, the butterfly. So I was on the swim team, and I swam the butterfly. That was my race. So I was always practicing the butterfly, humming this song in my head, and I'll never forget it. Like for the rest of my life, it's like if I get dementia at some point, which I think everybody does, if you live long enough, maybe,
Yeah.
or most people do, um, I will still remember this song and that feeling of swimming through the water in the hot summer of Tennessee.
Nice, nice. And that makes me think too, like you've talked on the past before about the importance of like local radio and how the big corporations kind of buying stuff up like this. I think back to when a lot more less corporations owned more things back in the 80s, and there was more of a chance that I was going to run into a song like a Billy Ocean song than there is today. And that is something that I do miss about music, and how it's presented today, because with streaming services being what they are, there's some chance for exploration more so than in the past, but people still have the habit of end up listening to what normally attracts them, and that's what I miss about radio. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think radio was a great way to get introduced to new music, and it was so ubiquitous. Like we had radio in our cars, we had radio in our homes. You could take a radio with you, you could listen to it on your Walkman. Like you could always listen to the radio. It was the one thing that was free and available, and it's sort of like the internet today. So there's lots of opportunities to discover new music today. They're just not piped over the airwaves in that way that technology was just around for such a long time. And the way that we've discovered new music for so long, it's been interesting to see how quickly things change with new technologies. Because probably after radio, the way that I discovered new music was through streaming,
Mhm.
and particularly Napster style streaming. And it was just like, oh, I'm just going to see what the guy sitting across the library from me is listening to. And so that was then how I discovered it. And then more recently, it's been streaming services like Spotify, where you can access playlists and other ways of discovering new music. But I don't think any of those replace the radio.
No, because with the radio, I mean, like, there's something to be said for that feeling of just a new song, a new TV show, a new movie just coming out of nowhere. When you're looking for new music and you run across a new song and you enjoy it, that's great. But to me, there's something to be said about even if it's just going to like a friend's house and they play it, just that the feeling you get when you discover something that you're not looking for, but you think, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, I'd say the time that most recently happened to you and I when we were together was with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings,
Yeah.
where we were out at a restaurant and we heard over the restaurant speakers this really awesome song, and so we used Shazam, or what's it called?
Well, Siri has I think the Apple bought Shazam, so it's integrated. But you didn't realize that Siri on your phone would be able to detect what the song was, and I showed you how to do that, and that's how we discovered Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Yeah, yeah, because I had Shazam years and years before, but I didn't realize that it had been integrated into my phone.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's that actually has helped me in a couple of occasions. Like I remember there was a song that I heard at a Chipotle that was it was like an indie rock version of the Rolling Stones song. I think it was Miss You or something like that. It was just a different take that, because I was able to say, hey Siri, what is this song? Ended up listening to it. I mean, it wasn't the greatest song in the world, but they at least did something with it. It was good. But anyway, how about I tell you my first song?
That sounds great.
All right. My first song, more than likely, if anybody's listened to the show over a long period, will probably guess most of the songs I'm going to pick on here. But this one was popular in my later grade school years, 88, 89, and that is Paradise City from Guns N' Roses. Anytime I hear that song, to me, it brings me back to like May, June in Grand Rapids when things are starting to warm up and the humidity hasn't quite hit just yet. And it's almost festival time. Festival is a big thing in Grand Rapids. It was the first publicly funded celebration of the arts in the country, actually, thanks to Gerald Ford. But yeah, just that song just always brings me back to that feeling of being a kid anticipating summer being around the corner and just the freedom that you feel when you're that age, because school, even even though you can look back on school and see how important it was, when you're in the fifth grade, you just want to have that time off, at that end of the year, even if school is going good for you. But just what can you say about that song too? I mean, it's kind of it does have its harder rock elements in it in the latter part of the song, but I think it's one of those kind of songs that the people that like other music genres can enjoy it as well. At least at the beginning, because I remember back at my uncle's wedding, the DJ at the end was just letting kids goof around, and I said, can I sing Paradise City? So he played it and I just sang over it, and that was fun. But I remember like a lot of the older folks at the time were liking the beginning part of the song just because of how fun it is, how just it's a great sing-along song. There's a freedom to it. Like it's one of those songs that I always bring this up. I love the type of songs that you can just have on your car stereo when you're driving, cranked all the way up. This is perfect for that.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that song definitely came out at a time when I was very not influential, but able to be influenced, especially in my musical taste. And it was all about what was playing on MTV.
Yeah.
And I just remember, sitting and waiting for this video to come on. And when it came on, jumping up off the couch, doing the dance, all the things. And it's a great summer song. I agree.
Yes, and they're actually Guns N' Roses is actually touring, and they're coming to Portland this year, guys. So, but just great song, and like that was around the time that I was just getting my taste in music as well, and this band, along with Aerosmith, were the bands that really cemented for me the type of music that really gets me, and essentially it's guitar driven, harder rock. So.
Yeah, I was really into it then, but I got out of it. By the time I was 16, nothing that was on MTV was cool enough for me.
I think, well, I mean, I can't speak for kids now because MTV is not a thing anymore in terms of music, but, it is weird that there is a certain age in life to where people discover their interest, in terms of music and whatnot. And it is that high school, early 20s age. It's that block there. And anything that you absolutely fell in love with in that block is going to stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what is your second choice?
My next song, you'll find me a little bit older, around 13 or 14. It's summertime again. I'm hanging out in my house trying to keep cool. So just think dark curtains, no lights on, and just listening to music, just trying to be as still as possible to not generate heat and listening to music. And so then my next song in this experience is Blister in the Sun by the Violent Femmes. And this was right after I got my first CD player. And I, of course, immediately joined the Columbia House Record and Tape Club.
Yeah. Of
And
our
Violet
generation.
Sims,
Yeah. Of our
Violet Sims,
generation who didn't.
of our generation who didn't. Agreed, everybody did this, but Violent Femmes was one of my choices on one of my forays into the Columbia House Record and Tape Club. Now, for people who are maybe not of our generation, maybe missed the Columbia House Record and Tape Club, what did you said you remembered it? Can you tell us a little about it?
Yes, they were an offshoot of Columbia Records, and what they ultimately did was they offered you a great introductory deal to join their record club, and usually it'd be like 5 to 8 albums, and you would pay either a penny or $1, depending on which ad that you saw, and then they would send you those records that you chose, and then each month after that, they would ship you another album. If you did not want that album, you'd have to return it immediately. Otherwise, if you kept it, then they would charge you for that. The thing is, with Columbia House, more often than not, people did what I ended up doing a couple of times because you didn't have to like establish a line of credit with these people to join their club. You just had to send them their money. And we were just before we started recording, watched a video about this, and I watched it to refresh my memory. But basically, the Columbia House folks found a way through legal chicanery to get access to music that they didn't ultimately pay royalties for, and essentially sold it at a profit because the albums that they shipped to people, they made themselves. So it's not like they were getting like from Decca Records. It wasn't Decca Records shipping them copies of Tommy from The Who. They got the master tapes from Decca Records and made their own copies of Tommy from The Who, and then shipped them out that way. But just a lot of chicanery, but it was weird that they had a service in place to where so many people could abuse it, yet they still ended up making money hand over fist on the few people that did take advantage of the service.
Absolutely. And I think, we did watch that video about them, and it was 15% of the record and tape market. So a pretty big share of how people purchased music back then.
But the point that they kind of alluded to that they didn't go to in the video was that in some ways this was kind of like how file sharing is today, because the artists were not getting royalties for this, but there was some benefits of this happening because the Columbia House sales did account towards ultimate record sales. And so if like 15% of the record sales of a particular album pushed an album past the platinum range, that artist was getting a platinum record for that album. Today that with illegal file sharing, the only benefit would be that the artist is still getting their work out there, and hopefully some people are, if they're pirating, they're still finding ways to support the artist and not really overtly abusing the system like some people can. Like they had a couple instances in the video that we saw of people that scammed like over $200,000 of CDs and stuff from Columbia House, which is just a tad bit excessive,
Yeah.
But anyway, anything else you wanted to mention about your choice?
Well, so the song itself is a really fun 80s sort of folk punk song. And, Blister in the Sun is what makes it a great summer song, I think, just that the lyrics sort of allude to the way that you feel sometimes in the summer if you stay outside too long in the sun, where you're just like, I remember and it hasn't been summertime here for a while. So I remember even last summer, you just stay outside all day and then you just sort of have this hazy, oh, this, there's just too much sun feeling afterwards.
Yeah. It's kind of like an afterglow that takes like a half hour to dissipate when,
Yeah,
in an air
exactly.
conditioned house. So I
Yeah.
definitely get that. I definitely get that. And wasn't that song in a car commercial one time?
Was it?
I think it may
That
have
would
been.
really surprise me, but I could be surprised.
Yeah, like
I
I
can
could.
check and see.
Yeah, you check that out while I talk about my next choice here. Uh,
Okay, sounds good.
Yep. And my next choice is going to be from Alice Cooper, School's Out. And kind of a cliched song. Some people may say that's too easy. However, I would contend when you have a song that it perfectly encapsulates that feeling that kids get at the end of a school year. I remember playing this for my son Luke for the first time, and he heard it, and he was like, "Yes, I love this song. I don't want to go back to school." Yes, and just yeah, uh, it's just because it's been around for so long. I think people don't take the time to really think about how perfect that song is in capturing that feeling. It's not that Alice Cooper's not advocating that people burn down their schools or anything like that. He just is capturing that inner feeling of the kid that didn't want to be there for history class all year, is finally going to be able to go to the lake or go camping for the summer or do whatever, and just the thoughts that are in the kid's head of like knocking over the desk and being the hero and running out, even though they're not going to do that. Just kind of a thing. But did you find if that song was in a commercial or not?
Apparently, it's been in a number of commercials, including a Wendy's commercial and an Australian Mitsubishi Outlander commercial.
Well, okay. That wouldn't. I think I may have heard it. It did sound like a car commercial, so I may have heard it from there. But anyway, school's out. I think we've discussed this song on the show before too. But just again, it captures that feeling of kids that are not fans of school, that are just looking at the clock, waiting for it to hit 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, remember that day, the last day of school, the last minute of school, and you're waiting and waiting, and then it's over for so long, and it just stretches out in front of you like it's forever. That feeling of freedom, it's one of the best feelings I can recall ever feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the only reason we have that feeling is because of farming. I guess the big reason schools don't go all year round, even though in theory they should, is just because most parents back in the late 18 early 1900s wanted their kids available to take care of the harvest during the summer. So that is the only reason. So there's going to be, I would assume there's going to be a point this century that nationwide school would be around all year, or they would take less long-term breaks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's already definitely started to happen in many, many places. And the summer break is much shorter now for kids than it was for us.
Mhm.
And I remember being out of school and being like excited that I had made it through school before they changed the structure of the schedule, because it sounded, I was like, man, I would miss summer if you had 2 week breaks between smaller terms or something like that. You'd never get that 12 weeks of boredom that I think a lot of creativity comes out of, because you don't necessarily get all that creative if you're constantly doing things. It's that sort of a ability for your brain to be inventive, because it has the space to just sort of think about whatever it wants to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is an argument to be made about making sure it's not too long, because I think there have been studies that have shown that kids will tend to lose a lot of the information they learned from the previous school year during a long summer break. But having it only be like treating it like a spring break type of thing where it can only be 2 weeks, they would be missing out on something there as well. So, I think especially younger minds being what they are, they do need that time to have a little bit of freedom to be able to just go outside and not have to worry about anything, because they're not necessarily going to get that when they're adults. you know?
Nope.
Yeah. So let them have a little bit of fun now. But what is your next choice?
So my next choice is Cemetery Gates or Cemetery Gates by the Smiths.
Oh,
It was released in 1986, and I was probably 14 or 15 when I started listening to the Smiths. And this song in particular, I loved. It's about, I mean, it sounds like it wouldn't be a good feel good summer song, right? It's about cemeteries, but the song itself is about the singer and a friend meeting in the cemetery to read books and lounge about and look at the headstones. And that's like a really fun activity for them. And so the singer is really excited, or the narrator of the song is really excited to get to go and meet this friend at the cemetery gates. So it's a upbeat song, even though it has that title. And I used to listen to this album. It's on The Queen is Dead, I believe, is the album that it's from. And I used to listen to that album all the time when I would go walking around my neighborhood. And the coolest place to walk around my neighborhood was the local cemetery. So I would go there and just walk around in a circle, listen to the Smiths, wear black, be my very angsty 14, 15-year-old self, because I couldn't drive and my parents were at work, so I couldn't really go anywhere. And so all I could do was go on walks. And so I went on long, long walks through cemeteries.
yeah. We actually, if it is on The Queen is Dead, that is an album we've reviewed on the show here.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But yeah, angsty, gothy, I presume. Were you wearing all
Mm,
black?
mm. Probably not because it was summertime, but I was wearing, cut off jeans, shorts, and t-shirts, and not just being rebellious, not looking girly anymore. I had grown into my sort of androgyny a bit, I think.
Gotcha. And I think too that this shows that you don't have to have a stereotypically summer sounding type of song in order for it to be a summer song. Not every summer song needs to sound like the Beach Boys.
Right, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Anything else about the Smiths?
I love the Smiths, but no, nothing else.
Okay, then I will move on with my next choice here. I make no secret that one of my favorite bands is The Who. If you get a chance to see one of your absolute favorite bands in person, you have to take advantage of it, and thankfully I did. But the song I included here was their version of Eddie Cochran's "Summertime Blues" from Live at Leeds. The song "Summertime Blues" has been covered by a number of artists from different genres. I know there's some country versions of it, but what I love about this version, especially the Who at the time, they were really just discovering their sound. Because like the other day, we listened to the Who "Sell Out," an album you would not listen to before, and I kind of pointed out, and I think you even mentioned you saw it as well, how uneven that album was, in terms of the types of songs on there compared to the singles that were on the album. Like I Can See for Miles sounds a lot different than everything else on that album.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this at Live at Leeds was recorded at Leeds University during the concert tour that they did for Tommy, and it just showcased the Who at their absolute ferocious best. And this song for me is just again, another one of those car ride songs. Put it on, crank up the radio, and just Pete Townsend going nuts on the guitar is gonna get me excited anytime. Roger Daltrey screaming like crazy. I mean, come on, it's a perfect summer song.
Yeah, it is a really great summer song. Reminds me of skateboarding. Like I think I was listening to the Who a little bit. I mean, I was never a giant Who fan, but you can't deny their influence on American music and also just how awesome they were. Even if you weren't like way into them, they were an awesome band. So I remember listening to the Who and trying to learn how to ollie on a skateboard for a really long time, and just falling down, then falling down, and falling down.
Oh man, I never had the courage to try skateboarding at all. Being as tall as I am, for as long as I have been, and for as ungraceful a human being as I can be, I know that skateboards are just not for me. So I never gave them a shot.
Probably wise.
Yes. So, what is your next choice?
My next choice is coming a little bit forward in my life to more recently. So, probably about by the time I was 25, I'd say I knew about this song, and it was just very much a summer anthem for me every summer, including last summer. I mean, it's just a summer song, and it's called The Swimming Song, and it is by a guy named Loudon Wainwright III, who put this song out in the 70s originally. And the original single version is not my favorite version. He has a live album on which this song appears. I was not able to locate that for the Spotify playlist. So the original 1970s version is the one that we have on our playlist. It's still a great song, but the version of it on the live album is just a little peppier. And so the song is basically about going swimming in all the different places to go swimming. You know, I swam in a swimming pool, I swam in the ocean, I swam in a public public swimming pool, a private swimming pool, a river, and that's just what the song's about, is swimming. And I love swimming. It's my favorite activity in the summertime. So it just makes me, I just think about all the different ways I'm going to go swimming and sing this song in my head. And so this is a super fun song. Loudon Wainwright III is Rufus Wainwright's father. And
I,
Rufus,
I was going to say Loudon as well, I think, was on some episodes of MASH, the early seasons.
yes, he was. But so you might have heard of Rufus Wainwright, who's a pretty famous singer-songwriter at this point, and pretty famous for being openly gay fairly early on. So you might have heard of him in that regard as well. But Loudon Wainwright III is just an amazing songwriter, and some of his songs are the most heart-wrenching songs I know of.
Oh.
But this one is fun. So if you're going to check him out, this is a good song to check out.
Yes, the rest will be depressing, but this one.
Maybe not depressing, but poignant. Like it just puts you in that place.
Okay. Kind of like listening to Bob Seger. No, I'm kidding.
For some of us, I guess.
Okay. I will go into my next choice here. This next choice is from the Beatles, but it's not one that I think people would necessarily associate with summer, but it does for me. And it is the song Dear Prudence from the White Album. Now,
such a great song.
Such a beautiful song too. John Lennon wrote this. He actually wrote this about Mia Farrow's sister Prudence at the famous retreat that the Beatles went to after their manager killed himself. They went to a retreat to learn from the Maharishi. in the 60s, but they had a number of other celebrities that were with them as well, Mia Farrow and her sister Prudence. And Prudence apparently was extra devoted to the Maharishi at the time and was just studying and studying and studying. And John Lennon wrote this song as a way to kind of tell her, like, come outside for a bit, enjoy life, and I really like the spirit of that. And it brings me back to 2017, the first year I had of being single for a full year, and just this song just kind of brings back some of the happiness that I had during that time of just it was like summer all year long. you know just that feeling of come on out, it's summer. And in a lot of ways I felt like Prudence that year, just heeding the advice finally and going off living life. But yeah, I had to include it.
Yeah, it is a really wonderful song, and that's interesting that you sort of had the same feeling after your divorce as you would, or as you did as a kid at summer vacation, right? That sort of sense of freedom and possibility, and never know
Yes.
what's going to happen right around the corner. And after you've been married and settled for a while, you just maybe not feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, initially out of it, I mean, I think this is probably true for most people that end up getting a divorce. You do have that stage to where you're like, what the hell am I gonna do? And then after that comes the stage of I can do whatever the hell I want. Yay! So I think that expresses that feeling.
Yeah, nice, nice.
All right, is this going to be your last one?
This will be my last song. Yeah.
All right, what is it?
Okay, and this is just the sort of icing on the cake summer anthem. What song do you hear everybody playing in the clubs in the summertime? And it is Hot in Here by Nelly. If you're familiar with this song, it's a great little dance number. Getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. Everybody knows this song, has heard it
Yeah.
at least once. I think it came out in the early 2000s, so it's been around for a while. And I guess it's a classic at this point.
Okay. To be fair, though, self-professed, never went to the clubs at any point, really. So this may be a song, kind of like electronic music that we talked about, that under the right circumstance, I could probably see myself enjoying more, but never in the club, so never could really relate to the song, and just it was the antithesis of what I like in music. So I did avoid that Nelly song.
Interesting. It was like so bad that you particularly avoided it.
It's yeah. It was just it was to me. It was like Girls Gone Wild made into music. Just no substance. I didn't care for it. I just didn't care for it.
I feel like it came out around the same time as Mambo number 5 or Mambo number 9 or whatever it was. Do you remember that song? A little bit of Jessica in my life.
Yeah.
A little bit of Julie. Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, they're kind of a pair in my mind. This is similar kind of. It's not super high quality. The Nelly song, I think, is much better than the Jessica song, but.
Well, and to be fair with Nelly, I mean, didn't he do a song with Tim McGraw at some point? I mean, that to me, I'm not going to completely dismiss somebody that will get out of their comfort zone to make art with somebody. That for that I have respect for.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
So what's your last song?
I'm such a downer sometimes, James. All right, my last song. If we're gonna end this, we should end it with the Ramones. And me, I had to include their song California Sun. I did spend a decade of my life in California. I don't necessarily have the love affair with California that others may have, but that doesn't mean the idea of California isn't still intriguing in some way, shape, or form, and the Ramones version of California Sun just kind of picks up on that feeling and just plays it with music, the kind of music that I like, loud guitars and singing like Joey Ramone. But just, yeah, not much to say really. Just a really damn good song that when I hear it, just makes me think of like beach balls in summer. Something you could easily that could easily be played at a beach or at a family barbecue, or just something where it is outside, it is hot, and like people got like t-shirts on or swim trunks on or something like that. It feels like summer when I listen to that song.
Can they wear both t-shirts and swim trunks, or is it an either or in this fantasy in your mind that either you have a t-shirt and nothing on, or swim trunks and nothing on top?
You're asking if I Donald Duck it in my thoughts?
Yes.
No, I don't Donald Duck it in my thoughts. And generally, even with a swimming pool, apart from the beaches we visited last year, when I'm swimming, I usually would have a t-shirt on anyway. So it would be t-shirt
Really?
and swim trunks. Yeah.
Is that to just protect you from the sun?
No, like me, a lot of it's just being self-conscious more than anything. Just, hey, look at that guy with his gun. It's like, stop, no.
Stop looking at me. Yeah, it can feel very exposed summertime.
Yeah, and like with chest hair as well too. If it sometimes, I don't know, just me with the amount of chest hair I have, I just more often than not would have a t-shirt on. Just like it's not like Robin Williams, but still,
Yeah.
I'm sure the audience
Yeah.
needed to know that.
Sorry, I thought it was cute.
Mm. Well, that's all I need. There you go.
No,
Well,
yeah.
yes, we have our choices here. We have created a Spotify playlist for that. This being that this is not a date night double show, we're not going to play the music on this particular episode. However, if you go to the show description, the link to the playlist will be there, and all you will have to do is just tap that link, and it will bring you directly to Spotify. With Spotify, you do have anybody, if you're a member or not, can listen to these playlists. If you are not a Spotify member, there will be commercials, of course, but if you're not, I think you can suffer through one commercial. you know so we definitely hope you take some time to enjoy those choices, and more than anything, just tell your friends about the show. If you listen on a regular basis, spread the word on social media. We would love to get some more listeners.
Yes, we would love to have more listeners to our show, and we're always open to feedback from listeners, and we'd love to hear from you. If you're one of our listeners, please, send us an email, a tweet, a Facebook post, comment,
a
like.
voice message that you can use, that we can actually put on our show as well. So if you got something that you want to say to us, use the voice message option, and if it's appropriate, we'll put it on the show. I don't want to have it be an open invitation and then have some interesting voice messages.
Yes.
But anyway, anything else about summer you want to talk about before we wrap things up?
No, I just hope everybody, we're about 2 weeks out from the first official day of summer, and today as we record this, and I hope everybody is getting ready to enjoy a little more freedom, a little more sunshine, and just wish everybody well.
Same here. I hope with everything that we've learned from the past year with the pandemic, now that we have things opening up again, I hope that we can all take this time to truly enjoy the freedoms that we do have, and go out, enjoy life. And if you are going out and like visiting movie theaters again, show some appreciation to those people, and show some appreciation to just everybody. Life is too short. Look at a lot of people at the grocery store that have had to deal with the absolute worst of humanity the past year plus. Be nice to them. Say good job, pat them on the back, or just do something. Just be kind to people.
Always good advice.
Yes. So, all right. I think we'll wrap it up. So thank you all for listening, and tune in again next time. Goodbye.
Subscribe to Friend Stalking Nerdy on iTunes. the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.